I went to this really cool past life regression hypnosis seminar a couple of weeks ago. It was way more advanced than any past life regression training seminar I've been to. Most of them treat past lives metaphorically as a way to get rid of limiting beliefs that are based on childhood trauma. By looking at childhood trauma metaphorically as a past life, it's much easier to look at objectively and look at all the moving parts and see how you can rearrange your thinking so you can get rid of your limiting beliefs. But this one was a past life regression seminar. There is nothing metaphorical about this. This is real. We went back and observed several of our past lives. The best way to learn something is through modeling. This is an instinctive trait, and it's best done when both the teacher and the learner both have a vested interest in the learner picking up the skills that are being modeled from the teacher. Back during hunter-gatherer times, older hunters really did need to teach younger hunters how to hunt. The survival of the tribe literally depended upon a successful transmission of skills from teacher to learner. She said that if you can meditate deep down enough, you'll be able to detach your consciousness from your physical body. It turns out that there are a finite number of souls in the universe. Some people have a bit of a problem with this idea. The argument against this is usually based on the idea that a couple of thousand years ago there was only a few million people on Earth, but now there are several billion. But if you take into account the multiverse and the idea that this iteration of self-aware intelligence is very, very young, then it kind of makes sense. From a single timeline point of view, the soul-time distribution seems too uneven to support the finite soul theory. But it all averages out when you take into account the multiverse and how early we are in this current timeline of self-aware intelligence. Which means that if you can detach your consciousness from your current mind-body iteration, you can travel forward to any of the multiverses or any of your other mind-body iterations. And you can learn from any of your future selves. You can model from your future self. She said there will be a universal tipping point very soon. She said that this was coming in the next couple of decades according to our current timeline. One reason these ideas are so hard to understand is that our current level of thinking with regards to space and time is significantly limited. We've only recently discovered ideas like quantum physics, evolution, and relativity. All three are very difficult to talk about with our current language and current mental levels of calibration. From our current timeline of self-awareness, which is only about 100,000 years old, we've only recently started to talk about these things in the past couple of hundred years. Quantum level physics is way beyond what our current level of language and thinking can handle. Traveling at speeds near the speed of light is way beyond what our current level of mental calibration and what our language can even describe. Thinking in million-year timelines, which is what is needed to truly understand evolution, is way beyond our current level of thinking and mental calibration. This means that we can only speak about these things in terms of metaphors. Metaphors are not reality. Metaphors are only an approximation of reality. And since most of our language is filled with metaphors, especially when talking about advanced scientific and mathematical ideas, most of our reality is way beyond our current level of thinking and understanding. It is way beyond our language. It is way beyond the vocabulary we have in our language to describe. She said that once enough people learn how to meditate down deep enough so that you can detach your consciousness from your current physical body, that's when the tipping point will happen. That's when the great leap in understanding will come. When enough of us can travel to the future, learn from our future selves, and then bring that information back to our present iteration of self-aware intelligence. That's when our understanding of science and mathematics will truly take off. That's when human consciousness will truly begin to expand significantly. Modern modeling is usually only done haphazardly and chaotically. The only kinds of learning that even approximate instinctive levels of modeling would be in sports. It's also the main reason why, if you want to improve yourself, you have to surround yourself with people that are doing things much better than you are doing, so that you can learn from those, so you can model from those people. But this requires that they want to teach you as much as you want to learn from them. And this is very hard to find. While we were able to go back and see our past lives, it was very limited. It turns out that when you travel back in time to see your past lives, you can only do it from an observational standpoint. Modeling and communication can only be done from your future selves. It is absolutely impossible to initiate communication with your past selves from your current consciousness. That would be against the laws of relativity and the second law of thermodynamics. Things that we won't be able to understand from the perspective of our collective consciousness for at least a couple of decades. But if you want to get a head start, you can learn how to meditate down to the point where you can detach your consciousness. Once your spiritual consciousness is detached from your physical body, then you can begin to understand what this means.